What happens when one of the world's biggest action stars, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, strips away the charisma, the catchphrases, and the Hollywood polish to embody a broken man consumed by addiction, violence, and redemption? That's The Smashing Machine. Directed by Benny Safdie and produced by A24, this raw, unflinching sports drama tells the true story of Mark Kerr, one of MMA's earliest icons, a man whose unmatched dominance in the cage was mirrored by chaos, addiction, and heartbreak outside of it. But this isn't a typical sports biopic. There are no slow-motion victories, no triumphant montages, no clear-cut endings. Instead, Safdie crafts something far more unsettling and far more real. Let's break down The Smashing Machine from beginning to end, explore how it compares to Kerr's true story, and explain what the ending really means. The movie opens in 1997 at the brutal World Veiled To-Do Championship in Brazil. Here, we meet Mark Kerr, played by Johnson under transformative prosthetics. Unlike the confident Rock we all know, Kerr is quiet, almost soft-spoken, but once the bell rings, he becomes something else entirely. He annihilates his opponents with terrifying ease. By the end of the tournament, he's earned his nickname, The Smashing Machine. In reality, Kerr's fights in Brazil were even more violent. His final opponent, Fabio Gurgel, suffered a shattered orbital bone so severe it required a plastic replacement. But what the movie doesn't show is what happened the next day. Gurgel's wife invited Kerr to lunch. Instead of revenge, Kerr was met with warmth. That moment taught him a lesson he carried throughout his career. Trash talk outside the ring is meaningless. The fight itself is the only language that matters. The seeds of Kerr's philosophy are planted, but his demons are already lurking. With MMA still in its infancy, Kerr quickly outgrows the UFC's small stage. He moves to Japan to fight in the legendary Pride Fighting Championships, where the rules are looser and the crowds larger. But cracks start to show. Kerr's partner, Dawn Staples, struggles with her own issues, while Kerr begins leaning heavily on painkillers and narcotics. His friend and fellow fighter Mark Coleman rises in the ranks, adding pressure to Kerr's fragile world. The film captures one pivotal moment from this era, Kerr's fight against Igor Vovchanchyn. In the movie, Kerr loses in devastating fashion, complaining afterward that Igor used illegal knees. He confronts Pride's top executive, Nobuyuki Sakakibara, demanding the result be overturned. Safdie dramatizes this scene with Kerr breaking down in the locker room, alone and sobbing. In truth, Kerr really did protest, and the match was changed to a no contest. But behind the scenes, he was also spiraling into deeper addiction, admitting later that he wasn't sober during the fight. This wasn't just a loss. It was the first crack in his entire facade. As the story pushes forward, Kerr's reliance on painkillers consumes him. In the film, we don't see his overdose directly. Instead, Safdie presents it through Dawn's phone call with Mark Coleman, where she reveals Kerr nearly died. It's a choice that shifts the focus from Kerr's suffering to the devastation felt by those around him. In real life, it was Kerr's therapist who found him unconscious, and it was another wrestling friend, not Coleman, who helped guide him to rehab. Safdie condensed several figures into one for storytelling purposes. Kerr himself admits, "That moment captured the shame and guilt I felt. I didn't know if DJ could get there as an actor, but he did." But perhaps the most harrowing scene isn't in the ring at all. In a devastating domestic fight, Kerr and Dawn's relationship erupts. Words become weapons, until Dawn locks herself in the bathroom with Kerr's Glock handgun. Kerr smashes through the door, wrestles the gun away, and restrains her until police arrive. For Kerr, this scene was visceral, like watching a home movie. He clarifies that Dawn didn't truly understand how dangerous the weapon was. For him, It was her ultimate cry for help, mirroring his own cries hidden under addiction. Safdie even added symbolism. In real life, Dawn destroyed Kerr's expensive silk robes. In the film, it's represented by a delicate Japanese bowl that she shatters on the ground. The effect is haunting. A fragile life, broken beyond repair. The climax arrives at the Pride Grand Prix 2000 finals, where Kerr faces Kazuyuki Fujita. This fight marks the true end of Kerr's dominance. The rules call for a grueling 15-minute round. By minute 12, Kerr is physically broken. He doesn't tap out, he doesn't quit. He simply absorbs the punishment, taking knees and kicks until the round ends. Johnson delivers a gut-wrenching performance here, a man beaten into submission not just by an opponent, but by his own life. Safdie adds a quiet scene afterward where a doctor talks to Kerr. Unlike earlier losses, Kerr doesn't rage, doesn't protest. He simply acknowledges. He lost. For Kerr, that moment marked a shift in perspective. I signed up for this. This was my penance. They paid to see me fight, win or lose. So I took the beating. It's brutal, it's heartbreaking, but it's also strangely freeing. The film closes not with triumph, but with reflection. Instead of glorifying Kerr, Safdie cuts to real-life footage of the man himself. No longer a superstar, no longer the smashing machine, but just an ordinary man who once stood at the edge of greatness and fell. It's a statement. This is not a myth. This is not Rocky. This is a man who lived through hell, who destroyed himself, and who still found the strength to get back up, not as a champion, but as a survivor. For Kerr, watching the movie was painful, but cathartic. He could actually sit there and clearly see my part better than I ever have. I could see how hard I was on the people I loved and how hard I was on Dawn. And that's what makes The Smashing Machine so unique. It's not just about fighting. It's about fragility, about addiction, about the difference between the legend people see and the broken man behind it. So, in the end, Benny Safdie didn't give us a traditional sports biopic. He gave us something raw, jagged, and deliberately uncomfortable. A film that pushes you away as it forces you to look closer. And for Mark Kerr himself, the man who inspired it all, it was the closest thing to truth he had ever seen.